Why, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Dead Rising 4, where we don't actually play the game, but we just fuck around until shit happens.
That's honestly how a lot of Let's Players play games.
Yeah.
We don't actually play the game. So, I have a few things to talk about. Look at the legs! Look at, it's like a chicken wing.
It's got chicken legs.
In the third Dead Rising, there is a combo vehicle where they take a motorcycle and they take a steamroller and they replace the front tire of the motorcycle with the steamroller, and then they also put flamethrowers on it. So I think that this is a play on that combo vehicle, but instead it's just a trike attached to a lawnmower.
Killed 200 enemies with the mower. Or killed 100.
Yo, check this shit out. Yo, watch, I'm gonna go right into this fucking crowd of zombies.
And then you're gonna finish that trial.
Nah, yo, check this. And
Yep, there goes that trial.
In the middle of it. Oh, I didn't do the wheel. I want to do a wheelie, but I don't know if it's possible on such a slow-moving vehicle.
Donuts. Donuts. So I watched an interview with the voice actor for Mermaid Man.
Oh, I know.
You know, rest his soul.
Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine, or however you say his name. Basically, he was doing an interview, and he was talking about how he was at like a birthday party for someone, and you know, he's like, oh, I'm in a lot of movies. You know, has anyone seen my movies? And all the kids are like, I don't know who you are. And he's like, I don't know. And you know, his friend starts naming a bunch of movies. You know, they haven't heard any of them because they're all old movies. So he's like, and then I get a brainstorm. I'm like, how many? You know, it's like nobody really wanted to like hang out with me because I was just like this weird old guy. And he's like, and then I was like, hey kids, how many of you watch SpongeBob? And they're like, yeah, we watch SpongeBob. It's like, well, I just happen to be the voice of Mermaid Man. And he's like, obviously, I had to do the evil. And he's like, and then for the rest of the day, they just wanted pictures with me.
Nice.
Man, I love watching shit with voice actors.
Oh yeah. When they're nice people.
Yeah, I was watching a bunch of clips yesterday with Maureen Jahan of the voice actors in the booth doing shit for Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, the screaming,
or just anything else. Like, even just hearing Christopher Sabat's direction, because he directs all of that shit, is just really funny.
I just love, like, listening to Mr. Lawrence, you know, the voice of Plankton.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I will destroy all of you, but saying it with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
It's so funny. No, but the other night, you know, me and a group of people, you were there too, but you left, and then this actually happened afterwards. We were talking about, like, really, like, creepy, eerie things, like supernatural stuff and things like that. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about a project that the United States Army did during the Vietnam War. And it was called Project Wandering Soul. And essentially what it was is it was a military project where a bunch of like, how could I say this? A bunch of audio scientists got together under the instruction of the United States Army, and they began what they referred to as the Wandering Soul Project. Now, the people of Vietnam have a very, very strong belief that when a person dies, they have to be buried in the town that they were born in, or else their spirit will not be able to ascend to heaven, and they will essentially become a wandering soul. You know, basically cursed into damnation for all of eternity. So what they did was they made a recording of a bunch of really eerie sounds, and basically a recording of a Vietnamese man saying, "This isn't worth it. You still have time. You're still alive. You can still go and be with your family. You know, just put down your weapons and go back home." And they would essentially set up speakers inside of the jungle, or sometimes they would set them up on the bottoms of helicopters, and they would play this really late at night in the Viet Cong jungle in the hopes of scaring guerrilla fighters into, you know, dropping their weapons and going home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a 4-minute recording of this online, and it's just really fucking creepy. Because it's just really, really, really eerie-ass music, and just the sounds of, like, you know, wailing, and just Vietnamese people saying, you know, talking, of course, in their own language, just go home, no need to do this, go and be with your family, you still have time. And it was a very, very creepy form of psychological warfare that the United States decided to do. And I have to say, it wasn't really that effective, you know, but I could definitely see its effectiveness, because imagine hearing that if you're, like, walking through the woods late at night and you just start hearing that, like, playing. It would scare the shit out of you.
Especially since you're already on edge because you're at war.
Yeah. Like, if I was, like, you know, walking through, like, the woods late at night and I started hearing, like, creepy-ass, eerie music, the wailing of a man, and someone saying, "You don't have to do this, you don't have to be like me, you can just go home to your family," that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
That would terrify me.
Have you ever heard of the MKULTRA experiments?
Nah.
Basically, it was just experiments. I forget if it was America or not. I'm pretty sure it was. Where literally they were fucking with mind control.
Okay.
And there are some sources that say that they might have succeeded.
Okay.
So that's fucking creepy. Just to know that there might be a way to control people just at a whim.
Did you ever hear about this one experiment? I cannot remember what it's called. I think it was like at one point when I was in high school, I was reading up on Nikola Tesla, and I was finding out the best healing item in the first game. I was reading up on like, you know, different, like, experiments, and there was this one experiment where they essentially were trying to test out.
Can we talk about that for a sec? Why was there money in the oven?
Never question.
Anyway.
They were essentially trying to test out teleportation. So they attached this device to a barge, or probably not as big as a barge. I'm gonna assume that it was probably like, let's say like a freighter or something like that. And there was a crew of people inside of it, and they initiated the device, and the freighter just disappeared. And they expected it to reappear, like, you know, a few miles in the distance, and it actually appeared like maybe like 100 or so miles in the distance. And they tried to, you know, contact the people that were on the ship via radio contact, and they couldn't get through to anyone. So they sent a recon team to go and see what was going on, you know, inside of the ship. And apparently it was incredibly, incredibly gruesome. There was bloodstains all over the ship, but there were no people. And they continued to explore the ship, and apparently they found, like, they found the crew members, like, partially fused to areas inside of the ship. Like, they were, like, fused to walls. Like, they essentially, like, you know, atomically speaking, they actually, like, became part of the wall itself. Very, very creepy.
How the fuck did that even happen?
I don't know, dude. Apparently, from what I gathered from the experiment, they believed that there's different frequencies to transport different matter.
Okay.
So there's like, for some reason, when this huge ass chunk of matter kind of just warped from one place to another, essentially, to like put it really, really simply, organics don't travel at the same rate as, like, you know, solid matter.
Mm-hmm.
So they essentially believe that the boat traveled a little bit farther than the people that were inside of it, and essentially when all of that matter kind of reappeared, you know, back in our own plane of existence, two things kind of appeared on top of one another. So they kind of ended up getting like atomically fused together.
Okay.
Yep.
Weird
That was
shit.
a weird one. There was another story that I heard. It was about Tesla's laser. Apparently Tesla like made this device that could fire like a laser beam. And apparently when he fired it, because, you know, laser technology, a laser is essentially just, you know, a light.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, it went forward and it just kept on going and going and going. And I think he blew up, like, either an iceberg or, like, a mountain that was in, like, the North Pole or something like that. And, like, a bunch of people, like, a bunch of eyewitnesses basically said, like, yeah, we saw this, like, you know, gigantic light stretch across the sky.
Oh.
So, I think essentially after that, Tesla kind of destroyed it. Because Tesla, from what I could understand, he was a big believer in, you know, of course he wanted to, like, make, like, you know, new technology to better mankind. But whenever he made something that had the possibility of being used as a weapon, he usually, like, destroyed it. Because he, of course, didn't really want that. He didn't want his creations to be used to harm other human beings. So I think that when he came up with this laser design, I'm pretty sure that he destroyed it. Because he didn't want anyone to have that kind of power.
Yeah.
There was that other story that I heard about. This one I know the best out of all of them. It's about Tesla's oscillator.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, this is a really simple one to understand. Every like piece of matter in this universe, every substance resonates at a different frequency.
Oh, is this the earthquake machine?
I guess you could call it the earthquake machine, sure.
Yeah, I've heard about this. But go ahead and tell the story for the viewers.
So essentially, everything resonates at a different frequency, and if you find that frequency and cause that object to resonate at it, it'll essentially just break apart. Structurally speaking, it'll just crumble. So a really great example of that is screaming loud enough to shatter glass. That's a perfect example of oscillation. You achieve a high enough frequency, and the molecules essentially just shake themselves apart. And the structure kind of just ceases to be. It essentially just explodes, or falls apart, whatever you want to say. So Tesla designed this device called an oscillator. An oscillator is a device that vibrates at different frequencies. So he essentially found the frequency of steel. So he designed this device to oscillate at different frequencies, and it started oscillating at the frequency that steel would begin to break down. And he couldn't turn it off. So, you know, it started vibrating the entire building that he was in. And police started getting phone calls about an earthquake, but the calls were only coming from one apartment building. They weren't coming from anywhere else. So the police went to investigate, and apparently they opened up the door to Tesla's workshop to see him destroying his oscillator with a sledgehammer. And he essentially went on to say that, like, you know, if that device were to continue to oscillate for a long enough period of time, then that building would have just collapsed in on itself. All of the steel beams supporting that building, they would have just almost disintegrated in a sense, and then the building would have collapsed. And then he went on to say that if he were to put that on, say, like a bridge or something like that, it would probably be completely destroyed within like 2 hours or so. And I think that shit is so cool. That's why, like, I really love like sound technology. I think that stuff is really neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this really cool thing that I saw. I gotta remember what it was, but it has something to do with water, and if you record it at a certain... Oh, I think it was like if you play a sound and record at a frame rate that's equal to how many hertz the sound is, you'll and you film water, you'll see it like spiral.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you'll see, you'll almost see like all of the water droplets almost individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you did it at like -20 or I don't know, something crazy, or maybe if you like doubled the frame rate or whatever, you'd see it go in reverse, or I don't know the exact science or whatever.
That's cool. I was watching a video of this this guy. I don't know if he was I don't know if he was actually inside of like a zero gravity chamber or if he was actually in low orbit. But he was essentially showing like how liquids move around in like a zero gravity environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was essentially what happens is any kind of liquid kind of just becomes like a membrane that's like, attracted to like, a surface. Because essentially every like substance in this world has like a certain kind of like molecular attraction to like other substances. So he basically poured like a bunch of water into the air and it was just floating there. And then he showed that like if he were to like run his hand through the water, his hand would essentially become like completely encompassed in just a membrane that was made out of water. That was some pretty cool stuff.
Have you ever seen those like zero gravity rides that people do?
I want to go on one of those so bad because it's probably so cool.
I would if I wasn't deathly afraid of planes. Especially since what the plane is doing is basically what I'm afraid of. Because you know how that shit works, right?
Nah, I have no idea.
Basically, you get put up on a plane, and they fly up really fucking high.
Yeah.
Like, really high. And then they literally, like, nosedive almost. Mm-hmm. Like, they just start going down at a really fast rate.
Oh, damn.
So, it makes you float up, and, like, you're kind of, like, in a zero-G environment.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And then, like, when they have to pull up again because, there's ground, they're like, all right, we're about to pull up, and then you have to like make sure you're in a secure spot so you don't just
yeah.
Like they'll be like, all right, fasten your seatbelts, and then like they'll fly up high, and then they'll start the nose dive. They're like, all right, unfasten it, and now you should feel like you're weightless, and then you just float around. Yeah, that stuff's crazy.
That stuff's super cool. I'd love to do something like that.
My, what was it? I think it was 9th grade? Yeah, it was. My 9th grade earth science teacher did that. And she was like, it was so fucking cool.
It sounds awesome.
She's like, someone brought like M&Ms and was just like, wah, and then they just float in the air.
You could actually pretend that you're Pac-Man.
But, as soon as, they have to pull back up, all those M&Ms are just...
We were talking about, like, like, really, like, fucked up, like, experiments that people did, and there was, like, this one Russian experiment where they wanted to see what would happen if you, like, deprived someone of sleep.
The Russian sleep experiment?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody really knows if that's real or not, because that's a creepypasta.
Yeah.
But, there are some people that do say it is real. And I've read the story. It is fucking creepy. They just, like, deprive people of sleep for, like, ever.
I actually don't think that that's possible. Well, I mean, like, because I know that after a while, like, you'll literally just lose consciousness.
Yeah.
And then, like, your body will just stay asleep. It doesn't really matter, like, what kind of, like, stimulus your body goes through.
Yeah.
But apparently in that story, they, like, give them drugs that, like, keep them awake.
Yeah.
Like, prevent them from falling asleep. But I feel like after a while, like, I don't know what kind of drug you could give someone to make them stay awake, but I feel like after a while, like, their body would just lose consciousness from just exhaustion.
Yeah.
But it is
just
an
like,
interesting concept.
It's just like when people are like, oh, how long does it take for you to hold your breath to die? It's like, well, it wouldn't take anything because you can't.
Yeah, you would lose consciousness and then your body would start breathing again.
Not even that, it's just a natural reflex for your body if it feels like it's getting deprived of oxygen to breathe. That's why drowning happens.
Yeah.
Because when you're underwater and you can't get back to the surface for whatever reason, your body has the reflex to just breathe because it needs to, but then it just breathes in water and then water gets in your lungs and then you drown. That's why drowning's terrifying. Because you feel it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of hide and die syndrome? Not really. It's not really a syndrome, but I guess that's what they call it.
No.
Essentially, as a human starts to like lose their sanity when they're in like a cold environment, or I should say, when a human starts suffering like really high phases of hypothermia. Essentially, I think this is around like one of the latest stages of hypothermia. You kind of like at that point you stop rational thought, and your body starts doing something called hide and die. At least that's what rescue teams refer to it as. Essentially, like. In an attempt to like get warmed up, you're gonna essentially try and look for like an enclosed space because your brain thinks that so long as you're inside of an enclosed space, you have the possibility of maintaining some kind of body heat. So essentially, like when people are found by rescue teams and they have died from hypothermia, they'll usually find them like inside of like a cabinet or something like that, or like wedged in between a wall, or like inside of a closet or something. And that's just because like it's almost like an instinct for you to try and get inside of an enclosed space to try and like preserve your own body heat. So it's just called hide and die.
Going back to some creepy stuff, I mean, we've already been kind of talking about creepy stuff, but so there was you know what a squatter is, right?
Isn't that like kind of like a Mormon?
No.
Not a Mormon. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Mormon. I was thinking of that guy who was competing with Obama. Essentially like a wanderer, right?
Yeah. So, this guy would wake up every morning and he would feel like stuff's been moved around. Like, this doesn't seem like where I put it.
Okay.
So he was getting suspicious of shit happening. Like if it was an animal or something. So he set up cameras around his house and found out that there was a woman living in his attic for years.
Years?
Years. Just squatting in his attic. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, nope, you're getting out of my attic right now.
So what, he went up into his attic and there she was?
Well, basically, I don't know what happened in the aftermath of the story, but basically, he has the camera footage seeing the lady come out of his attic and then just start going through his shit.
Damn.
Like, looking for food. Like, late at night.
Damn. I'm amazed that he never
noticed, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Like, never heard anything.
Makes you a bit paranoid about your own house.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. Reminds me of the episode of Malcolm in the Middle, where Malcolm is forced to live inside of his girlfriend's attic.
There was one squatting story that I heard that was pretty funny, where there was like this little space in between like two stores in this mall, and you know, you would go through it, you would step down, and then there was like this huge space that just wasn't being used, that was like in the walls, and basically somehow without anybody noticing, they snuck like couches, a TV, and shit in there, and basically made their own living room in this little space in the wall.
Nice. That's awesome.
I think they were in there for about 2 years before mall security found them.
Oh, damn, that's awesome.
And they would just hang out in there,
That's cool.
play video games.
That's so funny that no one ever, like, realized.
How do you not notice someone, like, bringing couches in there, or TV?
Yeah, that's insane. It's crazy what some people can do.
Get away with?
You know what I mean? Yeah. How sneaky some people can be. Is there literally just, like, only one area where survivors spawn in this place?
I guess so.
This is, like, ridiculous.
I know, we haven't really found anything. You are losing vehicles by the dozens.
I know, it's just running over everyone.
Next time you find a survivor, you should mark the map with a waypoint and then just leave and come back.
Should. At least in the other place, there were like 2 or 3 different spawns where survivors could show up.
Yeah, this one it only seems to be
This
one.
place don't seem like there's shit. Ow. I love how I'm actually like killing zombies by just walking around.
Yep.
Like just wearing these knuckles like hurts people so long
Knuckles.
as I touch them. Knuckles. Is this what Knuckles faces?
Knuckles.
Is this why he hasn't found a nice female echidna?
There we go. That, I think, is a survivor.
I hope it is. Oh, yeah, I see him.
Kill Obscurus. Not kill the Obscurus agents, kill Obscurus, the entire organization. Die. What? This guy can take some missiles to the face.
I'll make your tank malfunction, you fuck.
Oh.
Yeah, eat it.
Look at his leg.
Oh, my leg.
That's literally just what a Brutality looks like in Mortal Kombat.
Which is a flying leg.
Like, have you ever seen Brutalities in Mortal Kombat? Where it's just like, not fatalities, brutalities.
Yeah, I mean, they do vary a lot, you know, depending on which Mortal Kombat you're playing. Like, some of them the guy just gets incinerated, others he just turns into fucking corned beef and hash.
No. You're thinking of fatalities. Brutalities...
No, fatalities are actually, like, scripted events, but brutalities are essentially just, like, you know, it's not like this cutscene or anything like that.
It kind of is.
It's not so much like a cinematic cutscene like a fatality, though.
Well, yeah. Basically, what happens is you perform during the finish him thing. You perform a specific like 11-button combo.
Okay.
And then it'll go into this cutscene where the character just starts beating on them like really fast.
Oh.
And then we'll do a fucking uppercut and make their entire body explode.
Oh, okay.
And it's really fucking funny. It's like pop, 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 pop. That was only in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, I believe, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Oh, I see. Then I'm thinking of something different. I'm thinking of something in like Mortal Kombat X. I think it's called, right? Is it X?
The latest one?
The second to latest.
Oh look, there's a survivor. Mortal Kombat 9.
Yeah.
It was just called Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
No, there. Are you thinking of the X-ray moves?
No, not X-ray moves either. It's essentially just like you basically just kill someone with like just one of your special moves, and then you know they die in like a certain way. Like there's one where it's like finish him, and then Scorpion uses that one move where he, like, summons a demon, and it, like, latches onto someone and explodes, and then they just basically turn into, like, hamburger meat.
Yeah, that's a fatality.
Oh, I thought that a fatality was, like, that whole scripted cutscene.
Well, I mean, it is. Like, I don't know what you mean. Like, you're describing fatalities in both ways.
Alright, well, how about, it's like, it's not like the whole, like, this is what I'm trying to say. A fatality, in my mind, is that cutscene that happens, like, you know the whole joke that we had with the whole Scorpion souffle?
Yeah.
And all that shit?
Yeah.
That's a fatality in my mind. That's a big, long, scripted cutscene.
Yes.
What I'm thinking of is just a character using one of their special moves, but instead of the character just getting hurt like they normally do, they get, like, horribly, grievously wounded. Like...
Okay.
Like, you know, Scorpion grabs the guy, and instead of them just, like, exploding and flying back, they explode into just, like, little tiny hamburger bits, you know. Or he, like, you know, he grabs someone and, like, you know, sucks them down into a hole, and then, like, you know, a bunch of blood, like, splurts out of it or something like that. It's not like the long-ass scripted cutscene of, like, a normal fatality. It's like something that you do, like, when someone is close to death. And I'm pretty sure that they were called brutalities. I don't think they were called fatalities.
No, I think both of those things you're thinking of are fatalities.
Okay, so there are just, like, different degrees to fatalities, then.
Kind of. I mean, it just depends on the character, really. You know?
Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. You know, it depends on the character. You know, some characters have these big extravagant fatalities, but then some characters just have, like, little ones. I thought that was the survivor.
Well, the thing that I was thinking of, though, is essentially just, like, you know, like, when you, like... You know when you damage someone to the point where you're allowed to perform a fatality?
Yeah.
It's essentially just like, instead of, like, you know, doing the button combination to perform a fatality, you just do, like, one of your special moves instead.
Oh,
and
well,
then they just die from that.
Oh, well, that's not really called anything.
But, like, something special still happens, though. Like, they get turned into, like, hamburger meat or something like that, you know?
I don't think I've ever, like...
Or, like, their arms, like, get blown off and then they fall backwards and die. Like, it isn't just, like, you know, normally... If you were to do something other than a fatality against someone, they would just fall down.
Yeah.
You know? I'm talking about something where, like, they actually, like, lose a limb or something like that, or their entire body actually explodes. But it's not like the scripted cutscene that, like, a fatality normally causes. It's, you know...
Maybe you're right. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I haven't played Mortal Kombat 9 in fucking forever.
Wow, you really gotta tap fast to get those fuckers off of you.
Because I know that they have fatalities, obviously, but they also have the babalities as well.
Oh yeah, there are those funny ones, but those I still consider cutscenes. The thing that I'm talking about really isn't a cutscene or anything.
I got you.
I don't know. I'd have to, like, look it up again or play the game again.
Alright, four more survivors. It seems like running around in a circle really did us some good.
Mm-hmm.
That'll always be funny. Alright, so I think that we finally found where survivors like to spawn. They like to spawn
Around there.
right over here. I think like right over there or whatever, and then also over here in this little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, but it doesn't really seem to be as often.
Oh my goodness. Eat that grenade. Ooh, are those bananas?
Bananas. Yappy bananas. Oh, we discovered 125 locations.
Yeah, banana. I'd like to pick up a banana.
That zombie's just standing there. Is it dead? Yeah, it's dead.
Oh my god.
What?
I didn't mean to jump outside.
Oh.
Holy shit, a neon tank top? Ooh, I look hot in this. Leg warmers? Fuck yeah, I'll wear some leg warmers. Back off, bitch, I'm shopping. Ooh, look at Frank's
Is
flat
that
ass.
Is that a yoga top?
Ooh, women's yoga top. Ooh, wow, look at that package. I feel kind
Are
of.
those yoga pants?
I hope not.
Can you not grab it?
If I could just fucking kill this asshole, maybe.
No, you can't.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I can. I definitely can.
Oh, now you can. Yoga pants! Look at that ass!
Ew. Looking good.
Now you can do yoga.
Chakra yoga flex. Ooh, a katana, of course. Goodbye.
Oh, look, a newspaper.
I love balls.
I was saying that a lot yesterday.
I'm doing yoga. Yeah. Bitch. Man, I feel great.
I was playing Meat Boy yesterday
Oh,
on
I thought
stream.
that you were doing yoga a lot yesterday.
No, I was playing Meat Boy, which is like the opposite of yoga. And I was actually doing pretty good. Remember that level I was stuck on forever? Finally fucking beat it.
I don't really like this weapon. Oh, no, that's a weapon. I'm gonna bake you a fucking cake. Man, that feels good. No.
Oh, look at that.
Well, I hear women talking to me and I'm freaked the fuck out. Goodbye.
Later, man.
Ooh, man, I look fucking hideous.
Let's end it.
Okay.
Bottles.
This is G.
See you next time where we're gonna save more people.